those sorrowful eyes looking onto mine. In their depths, I saw a deep yearning, a plea for something I couldn't define, an overwhelming urge to reach out, to offer some form of comfort, with primal fear gripping my heart. The plane lurched violently, hoped that he would live again, but he knew that he would not. He knew that this was his reality. He knew that he would never see or hear or feel anything again. He knew that he would die alone in the well. He knew that he was doomed. He heard a whisper in his ear, "Welcome to my world." He opened his eyes and saw a pale face staring at him. It was the face of a woman with long black hair and dark eyes. It was the face of the spirit. It was the face of his nightmare. He screamed. The end. Story number 3. The Haunted Hotel. Anna and Ben were looking for a place to stay for the night. They had been driving for hours and they were exhausted. They saw a sign that said Hotel Royal Vacancy. They decided to check it out. The hotel looked old and run down, but they didn't care. They just wanted a bed and a shower. They entered the lobby and rang the bell. A man appeared behind the counter. He was wearing a suit and a hat. He had a thin mustache and a creepy smile. "Welcome to Hotel Royal," he said. "We have a room for you, and it's only $50 a night." Anna and Ben thought that was a bargain. They paid the man and took the key. He told them to go to room 13 on the second floor. He also warned them not to disturb the other guests. "They are very sensitive to noise," he said. Anna and Ben nodded and went to their room. They opened the door and saw a small and shabby room. There was a bed